much. South Bend Mayor James Mueller joining us live in the studio this morning. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to ask you about the New Day Intake Center. There's a next step of the process which is coming, and that is essentially it has to go out for bid. That's part of the process. Is there any concern with you or the supporters of this process that maybe some rogue element might come in, not necessarily in favor of this, and try to derail the process?
Well, that's always a possibility, but we had done a rezoning a couple months ago and didn't see opposition. So we're hopeful that, there's been some disagreements in the community over the past couple of years, but it seems like folks are understanding that this is the best location for it.
And there is a stipulation as well with this particular parcel of land, if I'm understanding it correctly, that it's not open for any sort of development. It has to be a homeless shelter, for lack of a better term.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. So remind people again, this intake center is not a homeless shelter like you would see at the Center for the Homeless in downtown South Bend. This is essentially a processing center. Is that right?
Well, it's an intake center, but it's a low barrier shelter as well. And so, we've got services that are treatment first, and that works, statistically, and studies have shown that works for a decent number of folks, but there are a lot of folks left behind when you require them to figure out all of their problems before they get shelter. So common sense tells us that you give shelter, then you can work on their problems that they're facing and get them back on a better track. And that's what Housing First is about.
In the same vein, there was a Senate bill in the Indiana Senate this past session that ended up getting scuttled, but it may come back. And essentially, it would make it illegal for homeless encampments to happen in public spaces. And specifically, this Indiana bill would have put criminal fines or penalties to the homeless people who were doing that sort of thing. Would South Bend consider doing something similar to what Elkhart has already done, essentially making an ordinance saying you will be fined or perhaps even put in jail if you park yourself in an encampment as a homeless person on a public piece of property?
Well, criminalizing homeless is not going to solve the problem. We already we have a policy that does not allow large encampments to grow, and you've seen us in the past when one starts to develop go in and break that up because there are public health concerns and other issues associated with those large encampments. So we already have that policy and we'll continue that policy, but the real solution here is making sure folks have housing and have access to the mental health and addiction services that they need to get on a better track. That's the solution. Everything else, you can't criminalize everything. You've got to address the root causes.
Okay, so you're not looking for any sort of criminal penalties or fines to go along those ways?
I mean, I think the state legislation too went further, and they were going to go after our police officers. I understand this is a concern, and we need to address it, but we need real solutions. We don't need these kind of attention-seeking policies at the state level.
Okay, well, we're running out of time, but I wanted to ask you a real quick question. Next week, we just saw the forecast. It's supposed to be very summer-like next week. The kids are going to be out of school starting next week in South Bend. Potawatomi Pool has not been an option for the past couple of years, but there is a new pool coming for Kennedy Park. Give me the timeline for when that pool is coming and what that pool might look like for the community.
Sure. Fortunately, we had gotten an outdoor grant that's like a 50-50 match, and so we have the financing in place. The Common Council has approved the city funding and and we have this grant, and so we're looking to move forward later this year, and then construction will go probably into next year. So it may not be ready for next summer necessarily. These projects take longer than we all want, but it is moving here quickly.
But it is a traditional swimming pool. It's not just a glorified splash pad.
No, it's an aquatics facility, so it has a swimming pool element, and it also has other aquatic features as well.
All right, Mayor, thanks very much. We appreciate your time. Thanks for watching. Here's another story you may like, and subscribe to the WSBT 22 YouTube channel.